Okay, great. I just want to check in the chat. So you will have been muted and cameras off, but we will be using the chat a lot today. So can you just put in the chat that you can see the slide translating work experience for success? If you just put yes in the chat, that would be really helpful. Brilliant. So big red slide. Fantastic. So thank you everyone for coming along today. So today's session is Translating Work Experience for Success. I'm Nolene Hammond-Jones. I'm the Deputy Head of Careers here at the Lancaster University Management School Career Service. So for those of you who are based in the management school, you have access to 2 career services, which I will go through in a moment. But we are open to supporting students from across the campus, so you don't have to be a London student to engage with us. So I will go through today's session, which has been recorded. Like I said, this is going to be as interactive as possible. We will be using the chat. So there will be prompts as we go along. So it'd be great if you can get yourself ready and prepped to use the chat function. So let me just move my slides on. So if you can scan this QR code with your phones or take a picture of it, screenshot it for later if you're using your mobile phone, that would be fantastic. So this is your check-in code just to let me know that you're all here today, and that if you do need access to the recording, I can send it to you and know who's been here. So please scan the QR code, and if you can't because you're using your mobile, just take a screenshot and scan it later. Thank you. Right, next slide is just to give you a little bit more about today's session and what that will look like. So bear with me a moment. So today's session is making your work experience count. So it'll be interactive. We'll be using the chat regularly. Short responses are absolutely fine. I'm not expecting you to write any essays in the chat today. We won't be using any mics or cameras. But if you just want to say hi in the chat and tell us what you're studying, that'd be really good, just so that we can get familiar with the group. So hello, and what are you studying at the minute? So what is your course that you're studying? So the more students who get involved today, the more benefit you will get from today's session. So what course? So maths and philosophy, nice. Accounting and finance, great, thanks Lucy. Anyone else want to put in biomedicine with a placement year? Very nice. Healthcare leadership, fantastic. And oh, there's a real broad range of people from different programs. So Leo is typing, no pressure, Leo. Oh, math and econ, fantastic. So today's session, we will be using the chat just like when I said. So please do use the chat as much as you can. Oh, another accounting and finance, fantastic. So what are you here for? So let's look at the chat and just put A, B, C, or D in the chat. You're here because you have experience but don't know how to write it. You're here, and this is B, you've done internships or placements, but you're struggling how to explain them. C, you've little or no experience. And D, you're feeling confident already, but you're just curious. So I've got a couple of A's, B, D, nice confidence there. D, nice, Carla. Okay, great. So you will see as we go through the session today, hopefully for those of you that have got confidence, you've just got a little bit more clarity. And for those who have experience but not sure how to write it, again, hopefully today's session will clarify that for you. I'm just seeing if there's any B's in there. One B, yeah. So if you've had experience, but you're struggling to explain that experience, hopefully today's session will help you understand that a little bit more. So today's session, moving on to the next slide. you'll see that this is our careers team here based in Lums. So I am the third person in. We have Rory who heads the service, and then myself and Tanya are deputy heads of the service. So Tanya looks after the career coaches who teach in the curriculum, and I look after work-related learning. So that's projects, placements, internships, employer engagement, international careers, and leaders in residence. So there's a lot there under the remit. Our team is great in terms of being able to help you regarding your career planning. We have dedicated coaches who are specialists in various sectors who can also help you. And you can access appointments. If you're from a different faculty and you're not based in the management school and you need an appointment, you can always email lumscareers@lancaster.ac.uk. We're happy to support students from across the campus. So our dedicated career support, just to give you a quick overview before we dive into the session, includes things like our dedicated careers resources in our career zone. We're currently on C floor in the management school, but we will be moving down into the main floor reception area once the school area opens. So the renovations are nearly complete and we're hoping to be there by Easter time. So you will see us more visibly in the management school. We have weekly drop-ins, which run Monday to Friday, 1 till 3 p.m. on C floor in the career zone. So those will continue once we move downstairs. So you can have a drop-in if you're not sure where to start, because no question is a silly question with careers. You can come along to our drop-in and see one of our career coaches Monday to Friday. We also offer lots of different skills workshops like today's session. We offer one-to-one guidance, practice assessment centres, which run every Wednesday. So if you're looking to get into a graduate level career where an assessment centre will be part of the recruitment process, then do attend these mock assessment centres. They will build up your knowledge and confidence about what is expected from you, from the employer. We run opportunities for you to connect with employers and alumni on campus. So last week we had over 20 employers in the management school to get you to network and meet those employers, including HSBC, Network Rail, lots of opportunities. We also have an international careers program. So for those of you who are international students looking to stay on in the UK or go to a third country or go home for your career, we have a dedicated support and an international careers manager as well. And for those of you looking to go abroad who are home students, we also have dedicated support for you as well. Placements and internships, we have company projects, and we run careers education in the curriculum. So you may see some of the team in your programs as you go through the year. So that's it around the career support. I'm now going to move on to today's session. So the first thing we're going to look at is what skills are important to the employer. So why do employers care about how you present that information, and what does that information say about you in terms of how you present it? So experience itself doesn't speak for itself. Just because you have experience and you put that on your CV, it doesn't really, unless you frame it in the right way and understand what the employer is looking for, it doesn't really speak for itself. So it's something that you really have to think about. Employers give, can you put in the chat how many seconds you think an employer gives your CV when they look at it? How many seconds do you think an employer will spend looking at your CV? Okay, 30 seconds. That's the first 10 seconds. 10 to 20, 20 seconds, 15 seconds. On average, an employer will give your CV 5 seconds, especially with the more competitive jobs out there, graduate programs, experienced hire. It's usually around 5 seconds. They will skim or scan your CV visually. They may even use some software to scan it even quicker than that, depending on the organization. But what they're looking for is not just your experience, but you showcasing essentially your skills, evidencing those skills, and showcasing the potential you show for that organization. So what you will bring to that organization. So clear presentation makes that decision making much easier for the employer, and it's important for you to understand how that works. So I just want a true or false quick activity. True or false, employers mainly care about job titles. Do you think it's true? So if you have really good job titles on your CV, is that what employers care about? True, true. Oh, one false, two false, three false. The false wins on that one. No, they don't care about your job titles. What they care about is that you're able to articulate or present clearly what you gained from that experience and how that will benefit them as an employer. So that's the important thing to look at. So job titles and job titles in general mean nothing in a lot of cases. You can be an executive, so chief executive officer. You have executive in the title, and that's very senior. And you can also be an executive assistant, which can be senior, and it also can be junior, depending on the company. So job titles don't really mean a lot. It's about what you did in that time on that role or in that role and how you present that to the employer. So what do employers want? These are just some of the skills that employers are asking for when they're putting their very sometimes complicated, overly flowery job descriptions together that you will read. And it's important to be able to take apart a job description and really understand what it is that employers are looking for. So a lot of just is based on the Work Economic Forum latest information is they've said that some of the skills that employers are looking for, what's at the top of that list is attention to detail, accuracy, being able to communicate effectively, good interpersonal communication, time management, organizational management. We're seeing more and more lack of time management or lack of being able to prioritize work or even just that communication piece. We've seen a real shift in how individuals communicate post-COVID, and not everybody knows how to email professionally or communicate professionally, or just has a different understanding of what good communication is. So these kinds of skills are generally gained through your education and something that not just your work experience, but also your education, that you can present clearly to an employer. This is what I've gained. These are the skills I've gained. So looking at your experience, looking at your education, extracting those skills from that experience and being able to present them clearly to an employer is an important skill in itself. So we will go through that today. So 3 ways to stand out. And it is a very competitive market at every level out there at the minute. You need to understand what the employer wants. What are they asking for? How, what is the job description saying? And how you approach that really depends on how risk averse you are. So generally, some people may look at a job description and think, I match 80% of that, what they're asking for, I'll give it a go. Some people will look at it and go, I match 80% of that, but I don't have the other 20%, so it's not relevant to me. I would say if you match 70% of what they're asking for and the rest potentially could be trainable, then you should really give it a go. You should really look at what you can add to that organization and apply for the role. Most organizations will expect at least 60 to 70% of the skills that they're asking for to be in your CV. But again, if you're demonstrating that you're addressing those skills or that you can show equivalent experience, then I think that showcases the employer that you're somebody who is of interest to them. Also understanding the skills you can offer. So it's not just listing, we'll go into detail in this much later. It's not just listing the tasks either that you're going to be gaining. It's the tasks that you do on a daily basis in your role. It's extracting the skills from those tasks and those achievements. But then also, I think part of the approach as well to stand out is understanding the conventions about how to apply for jobs is a skill as well. How to apply, what's the best way to get in front of an employer? What's the best way to get to that next step in the recruitment process? So what does the employer want? So for you to demonstrate why you want the role, your enthusiasm, your interest, your motivation, these are key elements. Very rarely do people say they want the role that they're applying for. And this can be done in a covering letter. Usually a covering letter is 1 page, A4, or it can be in an email body. It depends on how you're applying. Dear sir, madam, they, 3 paragraphs. First paragraph, why that role? Why that organization? What is it about the role that makes you want to apply for it? You know, is it exciting? Is it using the skill set that you have? Why that organization? Do you match that organization's values? Are they doing something innovative? Are they partnering with an exciting organization? Have they got a new sustainable project that they're running? Why that organization? And it's about doing the research, going beyond the About Us page on their website. You know, Google the organization, see what are they doing? Why them? Second paragraph, why you? What are you bringing to the organization? So it's not just saying, I'm great, I'm amazing, I'm brilliant. Evidence it. Give me some numbers, give me some stats. You know, have you improved efficiencies within an organization? Have you worked in large teams? Have you managed teams? And if so, are they, you know, I've managed a team of 5 people from 2 countries, working cross-culturally, communicating cross-culturally. So what are you bringing to the role? And the final paragraph, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for the opportunity. Yours sincerely. So it's understanding how you can demonstrate your enthusiasm or your motivation. Making sure that you understand what the company or organization does. And you would think that that's pretty obvious, but it's not. The biggest feedback we get from employers why individuals are not shortlisted or why they're unsuccessful at interview or application stage is because they don't have commercial awareness. Commercial awareness means understanding who the company are, what they do, who their competitors are, what sector they operate in. The very surface level research has been done. You know, you're one of the big 4. What does that mean? What do they do? Making assumptions about a business or a role based on its job title. So I've recruited for a number of roles over the years, and the amount of times I've had people interview and they're talking about how excited they are to work in a job based on because the job titles can be very misleading, and they've not read the job description, they don't really understand what the job is, or they've made assumptions about the role based on the job description. For instance, an international role, they assume travel is part of that, or they assume they have involvement in another department that they don't have. And that just shows to me that you've not done the research. And that research also means talking to people. So if a line manager has put their contact details on a job description to say they are open to have discussions, have a discussion. Do as much research as possible. Be prepared. Reach out to the line manager before you apply and have your questions ready. I have also been contacted by people for jobs where they have said, hi, so yeah, can you tell me more about the job? That's not a question. That's not a good enough question. I want to know, this is your informal interview. This is your pre-interview interview. It's an opportunity for you to showcase to me before interview why I should consider you. It's an absolutely amazing opportunity that very few people take. So do your research, show me what you know, demonstrate, and then have some good questions based on that for that meeting, and have questions prepared, because I won't entertain somebody. I will ask them to go and prepare, but then that leaves a bad impression, even if you do come back, which is great if you do for conversation. You have started off on the wrong foot by not preparing for that conversation. So do prepare. So make sure that you understand what the company and organization do. Evidence of skills, experience that makes you right for the job. If you can quantify your experience, quantify it. Don't just say you worked in a restaurant. Worked in a national or local restaurant or regional restaurant if they've got more than 1 or 2 branches locally, in a team of 15 people from 3 different countries. That to me showcases communication, cross-cultural working in large teams, working in a pressured environment, understanding the sector you work in, understanding the organization that you work in. That one statement has a lot with it. So do make sure that you showcase your experience and skills. And we'll go through some examples of what that looks like. And when applying for work experience, how does this fit in with your current career objectives and interests? You know, it is absolutely fine for you to, if you're doing, let's say, accounting and marketing, and you want to do a placement year in economics, an economic related role, that is absolutely fine as long as you can articulate what that role or what that experience brought to your career objectives moving forward. University is a time and a safe space where you can try new things or try new sectors or try new businesses that you might not have thought of before. But you also have to be able to understand where is that in your frame of thinking for your wider career? Is that informing your career decisions moving forward? So you're thinking of, well, I want to be, I chose to do an economics type career because I want my career to have that more as a factor in it than just say accounting. So, or I want my marketing role to be involved in an organization that may be more statistically focused. So again, it's understanding where that fits in the bigger picture. So how do I find out what they want essentially? So like I said, research the organization. What sort of person works there? For those of you who don't know how to use the alumni tool on LinkedIn, does anybody know how to use the alumni tool on LinkedIn? Put yes in the chat if you do. It's absolutely fine if you don't. We do have a LinkedIn Academy coming up in a couple of weeks. So do look online on Careers Connect and book on it. If you're not familiar with LinkedIn, it's open to everyone at all stages of LinkedIn, but it's basically to help you really understand how to use LinkedIn, getting your LinkedIn profile updated, and then the other tools associated with LinkedIn. So if you've not, do book on there. So LinkedIn Alumni Tool is a great way to figure out who works at the organizations that you're interested in. So do put that on your radar. If you don't know how to use it, learn how to use it. For those of you who are postgraduate, you can also use it for your undergraduate institution as well. That'll give you an idea, looking at individuals who work in those organizations, how your skills fit in. How can you be useful? Okay. Looking at their website, the About Us, you know, our services, our team, look at what kind of vacancies and person specs they have currently available. Use websites like prospects.ac.uk where you can see different job roles and the kinds of skills that they're looking for those job roles. Talk to people from the business, you know, online networking panels, online fairs if they're not local, pop by the business if they're a local business, attend events at the university where we have opportunities for you to network, even if you're first year and you think, I'm not ready to look for a job yet. Come along to these events and meet employers because it'll open your eyes to opportunities you may not have considered before. You know, networking is 70% of your job search. You know, it's a big portion of your job search. Who you know is as important as what you know. So it's important for you to take up those opportunities and Google them. Google them. Who is this business? You know, have a look as well. Glassdoor.co.uk for jobs in the UK is a great website for researching companies. People will post reviews of what it was like to work in that company. They will also post interviews information. So for different roles, what their interview format was, what kinds of questions they were asked, so that you can prep. Also as well, have a look at glassdoor.com. So for companies outside the UK, glassdoor.com is the overseas or US-based review website as well. So it's a really good, do as much research as you can. Talk to people, talking to alumni, reaching out to alumni, connecting with alumni. They're going to be a key aspect of your job search strategy. So employers that do come to events do mainly look for graduates at an undergraduate, postgraduate level, but they also are the people who can put you in contact or direct you to the experienced hire recruiters as well. So even though they may be in the university looking at hiring graduates, they also are the people who will have the internal contacts for experienced hires, or they can tell you what the recruitment process is for experienced hires. But I would say for those individuals who are looking at more experienced hires, or leadership opportunities, it's a good information gathering opportunity, learning more about the company. Even if they don't have a role that aligns with what you're looking for right now, go there, raise your visibility in your profile with that organization. Recruiters, whether early careers or experienced hires, they talk. So make a good impression and gather as much information as you possibly can, especially if they use an external recruiter for experienced hires. So some organizations may outsource their recruitment for experienced hires to recruitment companies. So it's good to know that in advance so that you can make those connections. So don't miss out on these opportunities, because on the face of it, it looks like it may not be relevant. Every opportunity you can make relevant to you as long as you know what you're asking and do the research beforehand. So a CV may sound obvious, but it's one of the tools that you will use as somebody looking for whether it's a graduate job or experienced hire, and will use badly. The number of CVs I see at all levels, from early careers, part-time jobs, up to chief executive, chief operating officer. It's something that's misused quite a lot, and it's something that can be quite easily, once you engage with the tool correctly and the support available, is one of the easiest tools to get you in the front door. It's your marketing tool. It is your representation of what you're bringing. It can open so many doors for you. So it's to get you to the next stage of that recruitment process, whether it's interview or assessment center or whatever it may be. It's to get you through that door. And it does that by showcasing and evidencing. There's no point. So people use that two-line profile at the very start, drives me nuts. So people will say that they're amazing at certain things. So accounting and finance graduate with a 1-year placement at local accountancy firm, amazing at time management and bookkeeping. It's like anyone can say that. Anyone can say that they're great at something. It's evidencing it. So in that two-line profile at the very beginning, which you don't have to do, it's more relevant to those who have more experience, is where you can quantify that data. That's your intro line. That's what's going to kind of hook the recruiter or the early careers recruiter into reading more. So it doesn't matter how much experience you have, add it up, quantify it. What are you bringing to the role? What kind of skill set do you want to magnify with those employers so that they'll read on to the next section. So where possible, quantify that two-line profile. But like I said before, we are here to support you. The number of times I've had students apply for placements through my placements team, and you can tell they've never had a CV appointment is scary, because you're just doing yourself a disservice. Even if your CV is incredible, there is no harm in having somebody give it a once over and just look at it for you to help you understand where you might be able to tweak it to make it a little bit better. So do always engage with the services on offer at the university, because it's at no cost to you. So having somebody do a quick CV check is very, very worthwhile. And also in terms of evidencing, they're looking at things like your personal qualities, your subject and academic knowledge, what key skills are you bringing, and where is that experience? And until you have 10 years of work experience, every experience is relevant. Every experience. Once you have 10 years plus, then you can start to get picky, and then you can start to kind of filter out what's relevant and what's not relevant. So it's about getting everything on there, no matter how small it may be. It's about getting everything on there. Okay. So Where's the evidence? So first of all, your education. You have academic specialist knowledge. And again, how you position that is really important. Not every employer has been to university. So just sticking down your degree title doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people. So again, extracting key modules that might be relevant to that employer or that industry. So understanding what have I got to offer and how can I position that on my CV to get the employer to engage with me a little bit more effectively. So looking at the uh, the skills, the module content is important. So, maybe sometimes giving an explanation of what that module entails, if it's a bit of a convoluted title, can also be helpful. Known and predicted results as well can be really helpful. If it's a bad result, do not put it on there. Only put on the positive good results. We can skip over, or we can help you to frame bad results in a different way. But if you failed something, please don't put it on there. That also goes for language as well. So if you have very basic language ability, make sure that that's clearly put on there, and make sure that you do actually have language ability, because if somebody in your interview panel speaks that language and goes, oh, well, they have a basic, so we could do like a basic introduction, and then you actually don't know how to say your name, or how are you, or how has your day been, then please don't put it on there. So yeah, it's important to be very what's the word, transparent with your skill sets. So yes. And then also include things like soft skills and transferable skills as well. So what counts as work experience? So more than you might think. So internships, placements, part-time work, casual work that you've done. Maybe you've been a volunteer for an organization. Roles within universities, so things like student rep, mentoring roles, roles within your society like treasurer, freelancing. So if you have a side hustle that you like to have, something that you do on the side, as a micro influencer or an influencer, those also count. Being self-employed, projects, working for your family business. Obviously, extensive experience if you've worked in industry before and you're looking to continue or progress in that industry. So all that that all counts as work experience. And again, it's how you frame it on your CV. I've only had one or two instances where I've said to somebody, what work experience have you got? And they've said none. And by the end of our session, they've come out with still no work experience. It's only happened once or twice. But again, university is that safe space where you still have time to get experience and build your CV, even if it's volunteering for your society. So you don't have an official role. You may just be a member of a society, but you help them organize an event or a sporting activity, or you've been captain of a sports team, or you've played a pivotal role somewhere within your experience. So just it's helping you to kind of frame that in a way that will showcase your skill set to an employer. But to think that you can go to university and just study and do nothing else and get a good job at the end of it because you have good grades is very short-sighted. Good grades do not equal good jobs. Employers expect you to multitask your career alongside your studies. So making the most of the time that you're studying by gaining more experience. And again, that can, that may only be 4 hours a week. You don't actually say on your CV how many hours a week you work. Nobody puts on part-time assistant, full-time executive. You just have your job title. But regarding your time on campus, and I get it from students quite a lot, we're like, oh, my program's really busy, I don't have time. You watch telly 1 to 2 hours a day, maybe, or 2 hours at the weekend, or 3 hours at the weekend. You can volunteer. You can volunteer for that time. You can use that time more effectively. You're not in the library 24/7, and if you are, we need to have a conversation. There needs to be a balance. So you come to university to get your qualification to improve your career or get a career. So you need to start taking the opportunity to get experience. And as I said, it doesn't have to be an internship. It doesn't even have to be a placement. They are great. They are fantastic cherries on the cake bonuses. But there's so many part-time jobs on campus and off campus. There are opportunities to do virtual internships online, which are micro internships, which are like 10 hours. That's through forage.com. So I'll type it in forage.com. You can do little micro internships for different organizations. You can volunteer for charities locally and on campus. There's loads of things that you can do. So if you're focused or you've been told to focus on your academic studies because good grades will get you a good job, that is, in this day and age, a misnomer. You are doing yourself a disservice. To be competitive in this market, you need to gain as much experience as you can. And a company will really respect a student who's managed a part-time job in a shop alongside their studies than somebody who's just concentrated on their studies. Because the skills you get from that part-time job really maximize your ability to work effectively for an employer, because you get really good communication skills, problem solving skills, working alongside a team. So it's important for you to manage that and manage those opportunities. So if you want to type one role or activity you've done, paid or unpaid, in the chats, just so we can see the varied skills and experiences that you've had. It can be one role, it can be recent, it can be a long time ago, it could be when you were at secondary school. Like I said, until you've got 10 years, it all counts. So if you can put in the chat one role or activity, as I said, it could just be helping your society run an event. If you put that in the chat, then we can kind of start to see what kinds of skills and experiences that you've had. So when I was at university, I played Gaelic football for my university, which is Irish football, which is kind of a mix between Aussie rules, Australian Aussie rules, rugby and something else. So I was the goalkeeper, but I was also the treasurer for my sports, and that went down really well on my CV. I also got involved in some work with the marketing team to help them with prospectus work. And I also worked in the student union. So I worked in the student union at the weekend. So yeah, it's really important that you get some work. So seasonal work in a finance department throughout college and uni, fantastic. We have, Gaelic football. It is a very fast-paced, brilliant. I now play rugby. I played rugby at university as well, because a lot of us who played Gaelic football also played rugby. So I still play rugby, but I have to say sports is fantastic. So yeah. National Trust volunteering at one of the 20 largest properties in the UK. See how we can position that? It's not just volunteering with the National Trust, it's volunteering one of the 20 largest properties in the UK, which gives an employer an idea of scale. Scale is really good. Internship at an asset manager, fantastic. I'm on a placement at the moment. Last year I was an RMA ambassador, fantastic. So being an ambassador, being on a placement, cancer care coordinator. I was a healthcare coordinator when I was in secondary school. So yeah, that's a fantastic role. We've got some more coming in. This is great. So just even looking at the scale and variety. So a quant researcher at the Gozel Fund Society. Fantastic, Leo. And yeah, this is really good. So it's a really good wide range of experience that you're sharing here that can really help you to understand it. It doesn't always have to be a paid role. It's how you position that so cancer care coordinator, the communication skills, the problem solving skills, working in a high stress environment, managing a lot of tasks at once. Those can be really good examples to an employer of being able to work in a high paced, fast paced environment. So thank you for sharing that, everyone. And then, so your evidence, as I said, voluntary work shadowing is another one. Positions of responsibility within sports teams and student ambassador roles. There are lots of different ambassador roles on campus. student rep roles as well, working as a representative for your student cohort and engaging with university leadership on student concerns and exams, things like that. It's really important to take on these opportunities. Being a mentor or even being a mentee can be really important. So there's lots of ways that you can build your experience. So I'm going to share, some of you may be familiar, I'm not a fan, but some of you may be familiar with the STAR approach to answering interview questions or putting together your CV. So the STAR is situation, task, action, and result. For a lot of people, situation and task can be interchangeable. So I like to put it as context. Give me context. Give me the action you took and what did it result in. So this is how you're going to frame your CV. Now I'm going to give you a long version of what this can look like, but you can shorten it into one line bullet points or break it down into several bullet points for your CV. It's also a really good tool for interview. So when you're in front of an employer, whether it's talking to them at a fair or a networking event, or it's being interviewed by them, using the CAR approach really gets across to them what skills and experience you have to offer in a concise and accessible way. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of CAR, context, action, result. So let's look at leadership. So context, as a student rep in year 2. So student representative, just for those of you who may not know, represents their student year group as with the board for the program. They meet with senior leadership in the university. They feed into any concerns. They will be your representative if you're having issues with the course. Okay. So the context is you're a student rep in year 2. The action, I advocated for student concerns at a recent program meeting with university leadership, contributing to measurable improvements in communication, assessment clarity, and learning resources. So that person advocated for students who were concerned about, we don't know what the assessment's going to look like, when is it going to be, what does it involve? We're not getting enough communication from the department on what we need, and we're not clear on what our learning resources, what do we need to know, where do we need to get it in order to be prepared for this assessment. That's essentially what that means. And they advocated on those concerns. And the result was improved communication from lecturers, clearer assessment guidelines, and enhanced access to learning resources. And as an individual, they strengthened their leadership, confidence, and professional communication skills through this. Now, how you could frame that in a CV could be advocated student concerns to senior leadership at the university at a board meeting with 10 people on communication assessment or assessment communication, which resulted in enhanced and improved assessment guidelines. So that's one. You could break it down into 2 or 3 different, if you wanted to take communication, assessment clarity, and learning resources as 3 separate points. You can also do that as well. So that's just a quick example of how we use the CAR. Yeah. If you've got questions, you can also put them in the chat. I have got the chat open in front of me if you do have questions on that. But it's the easiest way to start framing your CV. So if you brought your CV to me and you had student rep in year 2 represented my student cohort, I'd be like, how many? To who? On what? What did you represent them on? Over what period? So you can quantify the information and also give me an actionable result. If something resulted well, brilliant. If it resulted, so if you're giving in examples, question like, what's your biggest weakness, which we all hate? Make sure if it's not a great result, so you're showcasing that you didn't do well in something, the result should be, and what I learned from this was how I will not do this again, how I will address this going forward. So if the result isn't a good result, you're framing it in a way that you learned a lesson, that you learned how not to do something, you learned what you need to change going forward. So it's still not a bad result, if that makes sense. Turning these experiences into strong CV statements can be an example, like managed stock deliveries during a placement, improving organization and meeting tight deadlines. So what I normally get on a CV is managed stock. That's it. That doesn't tell me anything. What you can say is manage stock deliveries on a weekly basis, dealing with 7 logistical companies, which improved organization and met deadlines or met tight deadlines. There's different ways you can position that, but manage stock is a task. It's not an achievement. It's not showcasing me your skills. It's not showcasing what I need to see. So it's thinking about how can I make something as mundane as stock taking sound interesting, but also showcase my skills. Okay. So if you want to write one of your own experiences using this CAR structure, don't overthink it. But I'd like you to take this moment to think about something that you did in your, so as a cancer care coordinator, Holly, give me one thing, write it in the CAR approach. You don't have to, it's up to you if you want to share it. You don't have to share it now, but maybe if you did want to share it, you can write it in the chat. Leo, as a quant researcher, give me one task that had a context, action, and a result. Amal, on placement, when you were an RMA ambassador, give me an idea of one of your own experiences. Bruno, internship as an asset manager, again, you know, give me an idea maybe of something, a task that you were given. How do you change that task into a CAR approach, context, action, result? Making sure I'm going through. Yeah, same Tilly, Lucy, what can you do with your experience? So conducted research on dynamic rebalancing strategies applied to factor portfolios within the systemic investing research team. Very nice. Now, if you could quantify that, that would be really good. So when you say on dynamic rebalancing strategies, how many applied to factor portfolios within the systematic investing research team? How big was the team? So you can improve that even more and refine that even more by showcasing your skills on a quantitative level. So that's a really good use of it. That's the kind of thing I want to see on a CV rather than just conducted research. Because when you're in the employer's position, you're asking how, why, when, who for. You know, those are ask those questions, put yourself in the employer's position. Why are you sharing this information with me? What did you do this for? What am I as an employer going to gain out of you sharing this information? So it's not just listing your information, because that's not helping anyone. It's trying to convey how that experience will benefit the employer, because you now have the knowledge and skills that will benefit them. Okay, so I'll keep the chat open and I'll read out some more as we go through. So it is around convincing me, not just what you did, it's how you did it. Quantify the results and outcomes where you can. Figures draw the eye. If you can put percentages in there, numbers in there, if you managed a budget as a society treasurer or sports treasurer, that all like really makes a difference. If you managed a budget for an event that you were running, again, that makes, if you collected money for charity, figures draw the eye. Make sure that you stress personal involvement, especially at interview. Not so much, we don't use the I or we on your CV. Bruno did the right thing by saying conducted, and I'll share that again as we go. It's about using action verbs. So you wouldn't put on your CV, I conducted, you would put conducted. But in interview, I'm not asking what you as a team did, I'm asking you what you did. So when you get to interview, making sure you're using the I as well as the we, because I don't want you to come across as arrogant either. But we do find that people, and I just did it there, us as a team, do find that in interview, sometimes you minimize your impact at interview by using we rather than really showcasing the actions you took as an individual. Okay. Make sure that you use recent experiences as well from all parts of your life. Do not use the same experience more than once when you go to interview. And make an impact with your language. So if you set something up, you founded, you launched, you introduced, you created, you sorted out, so reorganized, resolved, transformed, you made something better, you simplified, eliminated, improved. If you led a team, you led, you supervised, thinking about action verbs that really help. So at my National Trust volunteering, when I was at front of house, I communicated with a visitor who was dissatisfied with the presentation of information of the property by clearly explaining why it was presented in this way and where they could go to learn more. By doing this, I diffused the situation of the visitor left camp. Very nice. And I'm sure we can use that into that's a really good example of an answer you would give an interview. So Bruno's example is CV. And that example, Tilly, is perfect for interview. So how we could position this, what on a CV could be communicated with visitors to ensure they were satisfied with the presentation of information at the property, feeding back to leadership on customer feedback on a daily basis, and presenting information in an accessible format. That's something you could put on your CV. So it's the same thing-ish, but just reframed for CV. So led the design review meetings and optimized system design, leading to cost savings of 3,000 by removal of non-value added components. Nice. Yep, exactly. Perfect for that's perfect for CV or interview. Returned to the team after my university term and cleared backed up work whilst managing day-to-day tasks and performed additional spreadsheet modeling for end-of-year management accounts to maintain consistent processing of work, rebalance the team's workflows, and assist with meeting tight deadlines for accounts and auditors. That's nice, Lucy. And I could probably break that down into 2 bullet points for CV. So making it, not trying to stick to the no more than 2 lines per bullet point, but you could probably break that down a bit more and quantify that as well. So this is kind of like how you would use that same information, but position it slightly differently, if that makes sense. But really good examples there. Fantastic, Lucy. I really like how you've put everything in there in terms of the context, the action, and the result of that as well. Especially meeting tight deadlines is a really good one. So conscious of time. Showing achievements, not just duties. We have said this. So achievements is your evidence. So thinking about, how you improved something, maybe taking responsibility, although do not ever have in your CV responsible for, because as a recruiter, you have to read halfway through a sentence before you figure out what you did. So instead of saying I was responsible for leading, you would start that with led. Because I would rather don't make the recruiter work for it, basically. Make it things as easy as possible. But taking responsibility or learning a new system, supporting others, meeting targets, those are all achievements. You don't need to get a certificate for it to be considered an achievement, okay? An achievement is something that you personally did. So I want you to all put in the chat, finish the sentence. In one role, I helped, improved, or learned, and share it in the chat. So something to do with one of your experiences that showcases an achievement. Keep it short, sharp. I helped, I improved, I learned, or you can start it with the learned, helped, improved. So the I is for interview. The action verb on its own, starting a sentence, is for the CV. Okay. So develop checklists to simplify procedures, leading 20% reduction in time, effort on shop. Nice. Very nice. Design a sector momentum strategy that allocates capital to the strongest sectors based on medium-term trends, then selects and weights stocks within those sectors using a multi-factor model. Momentum, quality, volume, risk with dynamic market regime filters to control overall exposure. That's nice, Leo, but it does sound like you're talking about a third party. So that needs to be more designed rather than using it in the current tense. So you would use it in the past tense if it's something you did. So designed, you're taking ownership of it. In the tense that you're using, it sounds like you're talking about somebody else. So it's taking ownership of that. So making sure you use the action verb correctly. But it's a great example. And I'm sure that breaking that down, it's something you can quantify a bit better, and also something that you can really use in a good. So these are really, really good, strong examples. I'm not having a situation where none of you have examples, so that's really good that you have these examples. But if you are being quiet in the background and you don't have these examples and you want to have a conversation with myself or one of the career coaches, you can book an appointment, or you can come to one of the drop-ins Monday to Friday, 1 till 3, and we can help you with that. So don't be feeling like you don't have the same kinds of experience, because you will never have the same experience or the same examples as somebody else, but that doesn't make your examples any lesser than that, if that makes sense. So do make sure, if you're feeling like, oh, I don't have the same, I don't want to put something down because I don't have the same level of experience, that is fine. It's how we position it, how we present it, how we articulate it, that's important. Okay. Brilliant. So, moving on. So what you've got, so we've covered a lot of these at the very start, which are the skills that employers are looking for. And these are the skills that you have. You demonstrate these not just through your experiences that you have, but also through your academic program. So it's important that you you identify how you have these skills. So these skills are ones that you have, you've gained, and that you can use to showcase to an employer. So tailoring is really important for you, and we talked about that in depth now. We talked about how we present the information, how we present interview versus CV. Does the CV show the skills that the employer wants? Tell them what they want to know, not what you think you should put. So that's where understanding and taking apart the job description is really important. And again, if you need help with that, if you're reading a job description and you think this makes no sense, or I'm not really sure what they're asking for, make an appointment and come and see us. Is everything on there that's relevant, or have you made it relevant to the employer? So you've positioned it in a way that will make sense to the employer. And use the why am I telling you this test. So sometimes there's information put on there that isn't something that would go on a CV. So why are you putting it on your CV? What is that going to do for your personal brand and for an employer to understand what you're bringing to the organization? So same experience, different emphasis. So one role can highlight communication, it can highlight analysis and leadership. But do you use the same CV for every application? If you want to put yes or no in the chat, or sometimes, yes, no, or sometimes in the chat, would you use the same CV for every application? Just want to get a consensus on this. We're nearly finished. We only got a couple more slides to go. No. Nice, Holly. I modify it to link with the person spec. Lucy saying yes. Leo, no. Okay, so it's okay to have a kind of CV that you use, so your kind of base CV, right? But for every job you apply for, you need to tailor it. You need to make sure that you're using similar language to what's being used in the job description. So if they're referring to time management as diary prioritization, then you refer to it as diary prioritization, because if they're using AI or they're using any kind of software, then they will look for the keywords that they have used in the job description to filter out your application. So it's important for you to read the job description carefully. If you're applying for a job, always save the job description as a PDF or a Word document, and highlight it. Highlight the areas of the document that you think, or try and extract the skills that you think they're looking for, and be careful of the language that you use. So it's important that you tailor. You need to tailor every CV. You can have your base CV that you work from, and then you tailor it for each role. Okay. Your CV is no more than 2 pages. If you're going for finance or consulting, it's 1 page. You can have a CV that's 3 or 4 pages long as your base CV, where everything is on there, and then make sure that whatever you put together goes no more than 2 pages. Okay, don't do 1.5. It's 1 full page or 2 full pages. It's never 1.5. Space causes questions. People don't like space. Just letting everyone know. So do I want to read this? Put it at arm's length. Can I read it? edit it ruthlessly. Get someone else to edit it for you because you will not see your own mistakes. So please do get someone else to edit it as well. Line up text in columns. Attention to detail, I said at the very start, is what employers are looking for. If I can see that one sentence starts here and the next sentence, and I can see it at a scan, I used to be a recruiter, that is attention to detail. You've not edited it. You've not looked at it. Short sentences, break up text with bullet points, not too many capitals. If you use capitals in your CV or covering letter, it sounds like you're shouting at somebody. It's kind of like the equivalent to shouty text. Don't do that. Also, don't change the font. One font throughout. Don't use more than one font, and don't use different colors either. It's not a word art project. It is a professional document that represents your brand. Unless you're going into the creative industries and there is a different standard of CV, it is a professional document that you use. The only time that the font is a different size is your name. And use your name as is your name, not your given name, but your legal name. It is an application for a job which will reflect on your visa, etc., or your national insurance number, or so use your real name. Make sure it's a logical structure. We do reverse chronological, so the latest to the oldest. Your education goes at the top, followed by your work experience, followed by other things. There's lots of different sections you can have. You can have things like certificates, you can have extracurricular, you can have volunteering as a separate section. There's lots of different ways you can configure a CV. Get the good stuff on the first page. So a lot of information today, a lot, but hopefully I've gotten across to you that all experience has value. All experiences have value. Skills and outcomes matter most. That's what employers want to see. Clear writing shows potential, and tailoring increases your chances. It really does. So in the chat, do you want to put one thing you'll change on your CV or your covering letter or your LinkedIn after today? Is there something that you might go and do, or is there an activity you might get involved in that you've not thought of before? You could put it in the chat, but ultimately that is the end of today's session. I would like to thank you all for coming, and I hope that that was useful for you, and you got something out of today's session that kind of clarifies how to position yourself. Quantify, get them figures in there, Carla. It's absolutely essential to get those figures in there. And hopefully this will help you in your career journey. But you have us as a team, and you have a central careers team as well to support you. Nice, quantify. No worries at all. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat now. Otherwise, I will end today's session. It has been recorded. We do have a YouTube channel that you can access with all of the recordings from events that we had. So we had a a visa session the other day. We had a session on hybrid working. So I'll put it in the chat where you can see Lum's careers. So yeah, if you do, today's session will be put on Lum's YouTube channel so you can access it again. But thank you all for coming, and thank you for participating as well. It really does make a session much more engaging when everyone gets involved, and I know it's difficult via chat, but it was great seeing you all today. I hope that you've got everything that you need, and we look forward to welcoming you at Lum's Careers if you want to have a chat. Thanks, everybody. Bye.